After being cheated on by her boyfriend while expecting a child, she decides to start over and focus on her career. But she ends up catching the attention of the company's powerful and reserved CEO, who is willing to do anything to win her over. Stay until the end to discover all the details of this exciting story. And before you start, subscribe to the channel and leave a like so you don't miss the best drama stories. Soo-ah has always been a romantic. At 28 years old, she believes firmly in the power of true love and the promise of loyalty that she and her boyfriend, Han Min-joon, have built together over the last 3 years. Hardworking and passionate about her career as a designer, Soo-ah feels that her life is finally aligning perfectly. She and Min-joon share the same dreams. They talk about the future and make plans to get married and build a family, something she deeply longs for. One day, Soo-ah discovers she is pregnant. She feels overwhelmed by a mix of nervousness and joy, but the happiness is so intense it moves her deeply. All she wants is to share the news with Min-joon, imagining his surprise and happiness upon learning that she is carrying their child. Anxious and excited, Soo-ah decides to prepare a special dinner to tell him about the pregnancy. She organizes everything in detail to make the moment unforgettable, preparing his favorite dish and filling the space with love. However, at the last minute, Min-joon calls to cancel, saying he has an urgent issue at work. Soo-ah feels disappointed but tries to understand. She believes he must really be busy and decides to wait until the next day to tell him the news, holding that joy within her a little longer. But as the weeks pass, she begins to notice subtle changes in his behavior. He starts to grow distant, avoids her messages, and begins coming home later and later, always with evasive excuses. One night, anxiety and worry consume her. Soo-ah feels something is wrong. Suspicious and anxious to clarify the situation, she decides to surprise Min-joon by visiting his office one afternoon when he says he's swamped with work. When she arrives, she sees him in the company lobby, talking to a sophisticated woman with a striking elegance, exuding a charm that is hard to ignore. She recognizes her as Lee Na-ra, a famous socialite known in the business world for her connections and influence. They seem close, exchanging glances and laughter, and Soo-ah feels her heart grow cold with what she sees, unable to believe it. When Min-joon notices her, Soo-ah tries to control her uneasiness and innocently asks who the woman is. With a mixture of embarrassment and coldness, he tries to evade her questions, but under her persistence, he ends up revealing the truth without a hint of remorse. In a blunt confession, he admits he is involved with Na-ra and justifies his betrayal by saying that the socialite is a more convenient partner for him due to her status and the advantages she offers. His words are like knives stabbing Soo-ah's heart, who until then believed their relationship was based on love and trust. Feeling completely betrayed and humiliated, she cannot find words to respond. In that instant, Soo-ah's world seems to collapse around her. Every dream, promise, and plan they built together now feels like lies and illusions. She cannot hold back the tears, and the pain of being betrayed by the man she loved the most overtakes her. The despair intensifies as she remembers that she's pregnant with a man who abandoned her without hesitation and without remorse. Every memory of love and every shared plan is shattered, leaving only a feeling of emptiness and betrayal. However, amid the suffering, something within her begins to change. After crying alone, she realizes she cannot let herself drown in this. Rather than allowing herself to be destroyed by the pain, Soo-ah feels a growing strength. She decides she will not depend on anyone for her happiness. She will be a mother, yes, and will care for the child alone, with all the strength she still has within her. She promises herself that she will rebuild her life and that Min-joon will no longer have any power over her or her future. Determined to move forward, Soo-ah decides to channel all her energy into her work, focusing on what she can control. The love and dependence she once felt for Min-joon transform into a fierce determination to prove she can rise again. Instead of sinking into sadness, she has resolved to create a new life for herself and for the baby to come. After the devastating breakup with Min-joon, Soo-ah resolves to pour all her energy into work, determined to build a stable and secure life for herself and the baby on the way. Though the trauma of betrayal is difficult to overcome, she grows stronger every day, focused on never again depending on anyone emotionally. Soo-ah begins to stand out on her design team, working long hours and immersing herself in each project with dedication. Her talent and commitment do not go unnoticed, and Soo-ah begins to gain the admiration of her colleagues. Yet, amid her professional challenges, her path crosses with that of the company's CEO, Kang Ji-hoon, a man known for his cold demeanor and unyielding determination in business. Ji-hoon rarely interacts with employees below executive level, rarely showing emotion, cultivating an image of a distant CEO who focuses solely on the company's success. During an important meeting on the company's upcoming collection, Soo-ah presents an innovative idea that captures the brand's essence while aligning with the latest fashion trends. Although she is nervous as the youngest among the project leaders, she pushes herself to stay confident. Her presentation impresses the team, but most of all, it impresses Ji-hoon, who observes her in silence. Although he keeps his gaze serious and critical, Soo-ah senses he is analyzing every detail of her work, leaving her both uneasy and curious. After the meeting, Ji-hoon unexpectedly calls her into his office, completely taking her by surprise. Entering the intimidating office, to which few people have access, is an overwhelming experience for Soo-ah. The room reflects Ji-hoon's personality. Every detail is meticulously planned, from the grand windows to the neatly arranged shelves with books on management and innovation. Ji-hoon, seated behind his dark wooden desk, watches Soo-ah for a few seconds before breaking the silence. "Your project is interesting, Ji-soo-ah," he says in a deep voice, though she cannot discern a hint of praise. He stares at her with a critical eye, as if probing who she really is. "But interesting is not enough for our standard. I believe you're capable of doing even better," he continues, causing Soo-ah a slight embarrassment as she tries to process his comment professionally. He challenges her to rethink certain aspects and to find a bolder approach, something that will truly put the company ahead of its competitors. Ji-hoon makes it clear she will be personally responsible for the final presentation, a level of trust and responsibility he rarely grants to anyone outside the executive team. Soo-ah feels a mix of excitement and apprehension, but accepts the challenge, determined to show him what she's capable of. In the following weeks, Soo-ah works tirelessly to perfect the project, which means spending more time in the company and, consequently, more interactions with Ji-hoon. Though he remains serious and reserved, she senses that he seems unusually interested, as if testing her potential and resilience. Over time, Ji-hoon begins to ask questions about her ideas and even offers strategic advice, a rare move for him. This demeanor of hers impresses Ji-hoon, who sees in her a determination and maturity beyond her years. Gradually, Soo-ah discovers that despite his cold and impenetrable exterior, Ji-hoon is a complex, demanding man, even with himself. He carries the image of an unshakable CEO, but in their few moments of silence and concentration, she detects a deep tension in his eyes. There is a story behind his aloofness, and Soo-ah senses that he, in a way, is also searching for something he cannot define. Their conversations become more frequent, and before she realizes it, she starts to admire him. Not just as her boss, but as someone who, like her, carries an invisible burden. Ji-hoon, on his part, finds himself surprised by Soo-ah's quiet resilience. He realizes she's dealing with something personal, something that motivates her to fight tooth and nail for a place in the company. But being naturally reserved, he does not pry. Instead, he challenges her to grow professionally, pushing her to her limits and closely observing how she overcomes each obstacle. This process makes Ji-hoon feel a growing admiration for Soo-ah, something he still cannot fully understand. One day, after a long day's work, Ji-hoon makes her an unexpected proposal. He invites her to take on the role of his direct assistant, which means working alongside him in strategic decisions and high-level meetings. The proposal leaves Soo-ah surprised and somewhat anxious, as she knows this is a giant leap in her career. But at the same time, she feels this invitation is an opportunity for growth she cannot refuse. When she accepts, Ji-hoon gives her one last piece of advice before letting her go. "Work hard, Ji-soo-ah. In our position, giving up is not an option." Those words resonate in her heart in a way she never expected. Behind that phrase, Soo-ah sees more than a command. She sees silent understanding, as if he's telling her that both of them understand what it is to fight for something bigger, even when their hearts are in pieces. Working alongside Kang Ji-hoon is no easy task. Soo-ah now finds herself in a position of extreme responsibility, dealing directly with the company's CEO. Ji-hoon is a demanding boss, attentive to the smallest details and intolerant of any slip-ups, which requires her to constantly be at her best. The pressure is intense, but Soo-ah faces each challenge with courage. If there's one thing Ji-hoon has taught her, it's that every obstacle can be overcome with determination. In the first few weeks, Soo-ah feels the daily tension of trying to please such a strict superior, yet at the same time, she notices his growing respect for her. Ji-hoon watches her with a calm but probing gaze, and at times, it seems he understands her on a deeper level than anyone else. For Soo-ah, this silent understanding becomes an anchor amid the chaos of her life. She feels inspired to surpass herself, especially after Ji-hoon's criticism and guidance, which, however demanding, push her to grow. Each conversation between them is a lesson, each task a chance to prove her worth. As time passes, Ji-hoon's presence in her life comes to mean more than just work. Soo-ah finds in him a silent security. Even though both remain reserved, their daily interactions bring unexpected moments where she senses a side of Ji-hoon that no one else seems to see. She feels that he, too, struggles with his own shadows, carrying a weight that has made him cautious and isolated. Through shared glances and silences, Soo-ah comes to view Ji-hoon as a battle partner, someone who, like her, has had to learn to survive alone. Meanwhile, Soo-ah's growth in the company continues. Her innovative ideas earn the respect of other leaders, and even Ji-hoon begins to trust her with important decisions. She becomes a key player in strategic projects, gaining autonomy and even the admiration of those who once saw her as just another designer. Ji-hoon watches this transformation with silent pride, realizing Soo-ah's strength goes beyond his expectations. But her new position of power draws unwanted attention, especially from Han Min-jun, who grows uncomfortable with Soo-ah's success. When he learns that she is working closely with the CEO, his pride and jealousy begin to gnaw at the memories of their past. At the same time, he realizes that losing Soo-ah was a bigger mistake than he imagined. Jealous, he tries once again to approach her, seeking to rebuild the bridge he himself had burned. One day, upon seeing Soo-ah with Ji-hoon at a company event, Min-jun feels an overwhelming impulse to win her back, and he later confronts her outside the office. He begs for her forgiveness, using a tone filled with regret. Min-jun claims he made a mistake, that he was weak and seduced by the power and connections of Lee Na-ra, but that now, seeing how Soo-ah has become a stronger woman, he realizes she was always the right person for him. Soo-ah listens, trying to stay calm. However, her heart cannot forget the pain he caused and the cold words with which he discarded her. The conversation with Min-jun unsettles Soo-ah, reopening wounds she thought had healed. At the same time, a wave of anger and indignation rises within her. How dare he try to return now, after everything she endured? Decidedly, she makes it clear that there is no longer any room for him in her life. Still, the memory of that conversation lingers in her mind, bothering her more than she'd like to admit. Ji-hoon notices Soo-ah's emotional state after her encounter with Min-jun. Although he doesn't ask directly, Soo-ah senses he's there, offering silent support, and somehow his presence brings comfort. In a rare moment of vulnerability, she opens up to him about her past, about the betrayal and the pregnancy. She talks about the nights she cried alone and the promise she made to herself to never be destroyed by another person again. Ji-hoon listens silently, without judgment, and for the first time, he reveals a bit of his own story. He shares his experiences of loss, of the loneliness that haunts him, and the fear of getting close to someone again. This moment of vulnerability brings them even closer. Soo-ah realizes that despite his cold facade and absolute control, Ji-hoon too carries deep wounds. Their relationship becomes more than just professional. A mutual understanding is born between them. They are allies, companions on a journey, each supporting the other in a way they had never found in anyone else. As Soo-ah becomes stronger, Ji-hoon entrusts her with leading a vital project for the company. This project becomes an opportunity for her to finally prove her value and to show everyone, including herself, that she's capable of overcoming any challenge. Determined and passionate about what she does, Soo-ah pours all her talent and effort into the project, bringing great success to the company. Ji-hoon, with restrained pride, recognizes her contribution and praises her sincerely, a rare occurrence for him. Each day they spend side by side, the feelings growing between Soo-ah and Ji-hoon become increasingly clear and undeniable. Yet both hesitate to admit it, trapped by fears of being hurt again. But amid glances, silences, and the camaraderie they've built, Soo-ah begins to realize that perhaps Ji-hoon is the only person who truly understands the depth of her pains and the strength of her resilience. They have become inseparable, a solid team, and Soo-ah feels stronger and more capable than she ever imagined. She is now the most powerful version of herself and knows she has a bright future ahead, with or without Min-jun in her life. And although it is still difficult to admit, her heart begins to open, slowly, to the possibility of loving again, of finding peace with someone who, like her, bears scars and yet chooses to fight each day to be stronger. With the success of her last project, Soo-ah has established herself as one of the company's most promising talents, respected and admired by her colleagues. Every victory represents another step in her journey of overcoming. But amid this positive phase, the past resurfaces to test her once more. Han Min-jun, regretful and increasingly unsettled by Soo-ah's success, becomes a persistent presence, seeking ways to reconnect with her despite her having already made it clear there's no place for him in her life. Yet he refuses to accept this, tirelessly trying to regain her trust, becoming an unwanted shadow haunting her accomplishments. One afternoon, during an important fashion event where Soo-ah and Ji-hoon represent the company, Min-jun unexpectedly appears, slipping into the gathering and approaching her in a moment of distraction. He congratulates her on her success and tries to strike up a friendly conversation, but Soo-ah keeps a cool distance, making it clear his presence is unwelcome. Min-jun, however, begs for a chance to talk and explain his feelings, insisting he misses her and was wrong to leave her. Soo-ah remains firm, but the encounter stirs a sense of unease, something she wishes she could put behind her. Ji-hoon notices the tension in the air and, spotting Min-jun, steps over to interrupt the conversation. He introduces himself assertively, making it clear that Soo-ah is under his protection and that Min-jun should respect her decision. Min-jun, feeling humiliated, leaves with a resentful look, but not before throwing a final remark. "Do you two think you can keep hiding everything forever?" His words ignite a sense of alarm in Soo-ah, but she chooses not to dwell on it, preferring to leave the past where it belongs. However, Min-jun's return isn't the only threat. Lee Nara, the woman with whom he had cheated on Soo-ah, also begins interfering in the lives of Soo-ah and Ji-hoon. Nara, a socialite known for her powerful connections and her ability to manipulate people and situations to her advantage, feels that Soo-ah's growing success in the company is putting her own influence at risk. Nara has always believed Ji-hoon would be her ideal target, and the interest he shows in Soo-ah is an obstacle to her plans. Seeing Soo-ah's advancement in the company and her closeness to Ji-hoon, Nara uses her influence to make Soo-ah's professional life more difficult, spreading rumors and casting doubts on the integrity of her projects. Additionally, she begins to cozy up to key investors, attempting to undermine their trust in Ji-hoon's leadership by suggesting he is making poor decisions by placing so much trust in Soo-ah. As Nara's schemes gain momentum, the pressure on Soo-ah and Ji-hoon intensifies. Ji-hoon, who has always maintained total control over the company, begins to encounter challenges in keeping investors confident. And Soo-ah sees his frustration at watching what they've built together be threatened by lies and schemes. The situation becomes a test of loyalty and courage, and Soo-ah is determined not to let Nara and Min-jun destroy what she and Ji-hoon have accomplished. One night, as they work late, Soo-ah notices that Ji-hoon is more worried than usual, which makes her feel guilty for involving him in the problems her personal life has caused for the company. She decides to open her heart and apologizes for the chaos her past has brought into the workplace. With a serious yet gentle look, Ji-hoon interrupts her, making it clear that he doesn't see her as a problem, but as a valuable partner, someone he trusts completely. He reminds her that if anything has gone wrong, it's not her fault, but rather the fault of those who have yet to overcome their own weaknesses. This moment of mutual support strengthens the bond between them, and Soo-ah feels, for the first time, that someone truly sees and values her for who she is. She begins to realize that the feelings she has tried to ignore for Ji-hoon are growing stronger. What initially was only professional admiration is transforming into something deeper. Yet she still feels torn between the fear of being hurt again and the irresistible attraction she feels for him. The next day, Ji-hoon decides to confront Na-ra in a meeting with the investors. He presents evidence of his consistent work and the true source of the rumors she had spread, exposing her attempt to manipulate the board to weaken both his and Soo-ah's reputations. In a surprising move, Soo-ah stands beside him, defending the company's strategic decisions and showing how they have been crucial to recent growth. Together, they form a solid front, proving they are an unbeatable team. The direct confrontation causes Na-ra to temporarily retreat, but not before she casts one last look of disdain at Soo-ah, making it clear she hasn't given up on her plan. After the meeting, Ji-hoon and Soo-ah exchange a look of mutual understanding. Both know the battle isn't over, but their partnership has only grown stronger. Soo-ah realizes more than ever that she is willing to face anything by Ji-hoon's side. This experience brings a significant change in how Soo-ah envisions her future. She realizes she's ready to take the risk and move forward, even if it means confronting the ghosts of her past. Beside Ji-hoon, she feels that she has finally found someone who respects and trusts her completely, giving her a new perspective on what love and loyalty mean. However, the path is not entirely clear. Min-jun and Na-ra haven't given up, and Soo-ah and Ji-hoon know they'll have to fight even harder to protect the company and the bond that now connects them. Still, both feel that together they can overcome any obstacle. Soo-ah now understands that her past does not define her, and that, with someone who shares her values, she is capable of facing any challenge, with strength, determination, and a love that begins to blossom unexpectedly. After the confrontation with Lee Na-ra and their initial victory against the rumors, Soo-ah and Kang Ji-hoon feel their bond solidifying more than ever. They are closer than before, and this closeness creates a new dynamic between them, filled with mutual understanding and a new vulnerability that's transforming into something deeper. As their professional relationship evolves, so do the challenges. Seeing that she has temporarily lost the battle against Soo-ah and Ji-hoon, Na-ra allies with Han Min-jun, who now shares her obsession to reclaim his place in Soo-ah's life. In desperation, Min-jun allows himself to be influenced by Na-ra, who convinces him that Soo-ah's rise in the company and her influence beside Ji-hoon are what stand in his way. Together, they start to devise a plan to destabilize both the company and the personal and professional relationship that Soo-ah and Ji-hoon have built. Na-ra and Min-jun's first blow comes unexpectedly. One morning, amid back-to-back meetings, Soo-ah and Ji-hoon receive an anonymous notification, alleging that irregularities exist in some of the company's key contracts, implying that poor decisions may put the company's future at risk. The rumor creates anxiety among the investors, who begin to question the company's integrity, and especially Ji-hoon's recent choices in entrusting more responsibilities to Soo-ah. The pressure on Soo-ah intensifies, and despite her resilience, she feels the weight of responsibility and doubt beginning to take a toll on her. Ji-hoon, seeing her overworked, is even more supportive. He makes it clear that he sees her as essential, and that anyone questioning her abilities is questioning his own leadership. This show of support strengthens Soo-ah, who finds the courage to face the suspicions mounting around her. The tension only grows when more false information circulates about her abilities and the validity of her ideas for the projects. Na-ra uses her connections in the media to release defamatory articles, suggesting that Soo-ah advanced in the company due to a hidden relationship with Ji-hoon. The news causes an immediate stir, and many start to wonder if her position in the company was truly earned by merit alone. Soo-ah feels exposed and humiliated, but Ji-hoon, furious at the insinuation, confronts the PR team, demanding an investigation to find the source of the leak. In the middle of the chaos, Soo-ah begins to question her place in Ji-hoon's life and even in the company. She contemplates resigning, feeling that her presence might be doing more harm than good. However, Ji-hoon does not allow her to leave. He insists that the problem lies with people like Na-ra and Min-jun, who can't accept her success. Not with her. The firm, protective way he stands by her makes her feel that she's no longer alone. For the first time, Soo-ah realizes just how much Ji-hoon believes in her, and it gives her the strength she needs to confront the situation. The trust between them grows, but both still struggle to express their feelings openly. Ji-hoon, though now closer to her, hesitates to admit what he feels, afraid of blurring the lines between their professional and emotional lives. Soo-ah, on the other hand, is scared to give her heart and risk being hurt again, but his words and actions make her question if it isn't time to take a chance. Determined to clear the company's image and prove Soo-ah's credibility, they plan a high-impact presentation for all investors. The goal is to present solid results and precise numbers, putting any doubts to rest. The presentation is a success. Ji-hoon publicly highlights Soo-ah's contributions and reiterates his trust in her. For him, this was his way of expressing, albeit indirectly, his feelings. He approaches her afterward, speaking seriously, telling her he would not allow anyone to harm her, and that to him, she is irreplaceable. These words deeply move Soo-ah, who, for the first time, seriously considers a future alongside Ji-hoon. When Na-ra and Min-jun see the successful presentation and Ji-hoon's public support for Soo-ah, they realize their plans have failed. However, the failure only fuels Na-ra's rage, leading her to resort to a more direct attack. She contacts Ji-hoon's former partners, using confidential information to threaten exposure of old contract secrets, escalating the tension even further. Determined to protect Soo-ah and the company, Ji-hoon calls an emergency meeting with the board. He decides to confront Na-ra openly, exposing her blackmail attempts and the risks she poses. Soo-ah stands by his side, suggesting a new strategy to counter the situation, proving once again that she is an indispensable partner for him. The directors are impressed with her ability to respond under pressure and her knack for finding solutions. Yet the emotional toll of the battle is heavy. Soo-ah and Ji-hoon find themselves exhausted after weeks of conflict and intrigue. One evening, as they go over final documents in the office, Ji-hoon notices the exhaustion on Soo-ah's face and suggests they take a break. They leave for a coffee, and the relaxed atmosphere of the cafe brings a sense of lightness they haven't felt in a long time. In a moment of vulnerability, Soo-ah finally admits how much everything has affected her, but also how important Ji-hoon has been to her through it all. Ji-hoon, in turn, confesses that he's never found the strength he sees in her in anyone else, and that meeting her reminded him of the value of fighting for something real. He looks into her eyes and with a shy smile tells her he doesn't quite know how to express his feelings, but that his life would be incomplete without her. This moment of sharing changes everything between them. The feelings they had both tried to hide are now clear, and for the first time, they let the attraction and affection they feel for each other speak louder. The connection they already had professionally now becomes something even more powerful and deep, and Soo-ah realizes that she has finally found someone in whom she can completely trust. With the bond between Ji-soo-ah and Kang Ji-hoon stronger than ever, they feel prepared to face any adversity together. Their relationship, once built solely on professional trust, has deepened into a true and intimate connection. Soo-ah has finally found in Ji-hoon someone she can count on entirely, someone who understands her struggles and respects her profoundly. But despite their unity and success, one last challenge remains. Na-ra, furious with her failed attempts to disrupt their lives, decides to make one final strike. She taps into all her connections and tries to shake the company by using her influence to spread a far more serious rumor, one that threatens not just Ji-hoon's reputation, but Soo-ah's as well. She plans to release false accusations that the company had manipulated financial documents and contracts, jeopardizing not only the company's image, but also the relationship between Ji-hoon and Soo-ah. When the news reaches them, Soo-ah senses the gravity of the situation, and for a moment, doubt and fear attempt to creep into her heart. But now, alongside Ji-hoon, she realizes she is no longer alone. Unlike previous situations, where she felt she was fighting solo, Soo-ah now has renewed strength and solid support. She and Ji-hoon are more determined than ever to ensure that lies and threats do not define what they have built. With the help of loyal directors and a trusted team, they decide to launch an internal audit to prove the legitimacy of the company's contracts. At the same time, Ji-hoon reaches out to key investors, assuring them that the situation is under investigation and that nothing will be hidden. He acts with complete transparency and courage, which only strengthens the confidence everyone has in him as a leader. Beside him, Soo-ah dedicates herself to organizing all the necessary documents and evidence to dismantle Na-ra's scheme. The rigorous investigation takes an emotional toll, bringing moments of stress and exhaustion to them both. Ji-hoon notices Soo-ah's fatigue and suggests that she rest, but she refuses to leave his side, saying that if they made it this far together, they would see it through to the end. One tense evening, Ji-hoon finally opens up, revealing that he has never trusted anyone the way he trusts her. He thanks her for not giving up, for showing him that even in adversity, it's possible to find someone who supports you unconditionally. After days of relentless work, the investigation reveals that Nara's accusations were unfounded, and the company emerges stronger and more trusted than ever. The board of directors, impressed with the way Soo-ah and Ji-hoon handled the situation, formally promotes Soo-ah to creative director, recognizing her skill, courage, and indispensable contribution. With emotions running high, she accepts the position, and alongside Ji-hoon, begins planning a future where they can thrive both professionally and personally. As the storm finally passes, Soo-ah and Ji-hoon find a moment to themselves. On a calm evening, after all the battles and triumphs, they walk together through the city, savoring the feeling of freedom and accomplishment. Ji-hoon, more relaxed than ever, takes Soo-ah's hand and, with a look full of emotion, admits that his life has changed since she entered it. Soo-ah, touched, smiles and says that with him, she has found more than support. She has found a home, a security she never thought she'd have again. In that moment, they both realize that what they share is something that has withstood countless tests and challenges. Ji-hoon finally confesses that she is the woman he had always hoped for, even without knowing it. Soo-ah, with tears in her eyes, admits that, by his side, she feels complete and ready to face anything the future holds. In the months that follow, Soo-ah and Ji-hoon work together to strengthen the company and expand their projects. Their connection becomes an inspiration to everyone, showing that true love and trust can transform lives and overcome any obstacle. Soo-ah's baby is born healthy, bringing even more joy and fulfillment to their new family. Ji-hoon, now a father at heart, dedicates himself to caring for and protecting both Soo-ah and the child, creating the family that they both had always dreamed of. And so, together, Soo-ah and Ji-hoon find a new beginning, where love, loyalty, and resilience are the foundations of the life they've built. They have learned that the toughest battles are won when you have someone who believes in you, and that with courage, it is possible to overcome the past and embrace a future of peace and happiness. And so we've reached the end of this story filled with twists, love, and resilience. If you found yourself rooting, feeling emotional, and cheering along with Soo-ah and Ji-hoon's journey, don't forget to support the channel. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming drama stories. Leave a like if this romance touched your heart and share in the comments. What was the most memorable moment for you? Was it Soo-ah's strength to start over, Ji-hoon's protection, or the way they overcame the past? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.